I've got to say, this is the largest 4K monitor I've ever reviewed. Welcome back to Craft Computing, everyone. As always, I'm Jeff. At LTX 2023, there was a vendor booth present that caught my eye. NexiGo was there showing off the Aurora Pro, their latest 4K short-throw triple laser projector. But as it turns out, both of us drove all the way to Canada just to figure out the other team was located about 30 miles from each other here in Oregon. So, it was a fun trip anyway. Before we get into it, NexiGo did send over this projector for my review, and it will be returned once the review is published. However, they did mention possibly sending me over a full retail unit once their crowdfunding campaign has completed. Like all reviews on the channel, no money changed hands. NexiGo has no editorial control over this video, nor will they have the opportunity to see it before you do. One final disclaimer, as I mentioned, NexiGo is crowdfunding the Aurora Pro on Kickstarter, so take the whole crowdfunding angle into consideration as I'm going through this video, as quoted prices are rarely accurate to the final retail price. But with NexiGo being a local Portland area company, I decided to give them a look anyway, even though I usually have an aversion to doing crowdfunding videos. What we're looking at here is a Tri-Color Laser Projector with a 2400 lumen brightness, 4K resolution, Dolby Atmos certified soundbar, all in a short throw package. Basically, if there's a buzzword you're looking for in a home theater projector, this one just blacked out your bingo card. Let's start with explaining some of the features and specs, as for my audience, this might be your first time diving into projectors like this. A traditional DLP projector works by passing light, usually produced by a halogen lamp, onto a DLP chip. A DLP is a series of tiny mirrors that can either bounce light out of the projector through the lens and onto your screen, or back into the projector, effectively functioning as turning a pixel on or off. By turning a pixel on and off with the halogen lamp as the only light source, that'll only give you a monochromatic image. Color is achieved by passing reflected light through a color wheel, basically a rotating filter to change the light from white into red, green, and blue. A color wheel rotates multiple times per frame in sync with the changing pattern of the DLP mirrors, and in the end, you get a full color image projected onto the screen. Laser projectors started popping up a little over a decade ago, and used a hybrid lighting system of blue lasers along with red and green LEDs to skip the color wheel, instead alternating the color of the light source being projected onto the DLP chip. This meant instead of filtering the incoming light and thereby darkening it, you would wind up with a much brighter image with a lower power draw overall. It also had the benefit of ditching halogen lamps, which had lifespans of less than 2,000 hours, with light engines that could last 10 times as long. Believe it or not, I actually own a hybrid laser projector that I purchased new in 2011, and have been using this for movie nights and Super Bowls ever since. The resolution isn't anything to write home about at just 1280 by 800, but it does have a 2500 lumen brightness, and hasn't given me a single problem in the... Crap, it's been 12 years, hasn't it? I'm getting old. Just like adding a color wheel between your light source and the DLP chip reduces brightness, so does increasing the pixel count on a DLP chip. The same amount of light hitting the same area, but divided by more individual pixels, means dimmer pixels overall. But just like the leap in blue laser and LED tech made hybrid laser systems feasible all that many years ago, new development now makes tricolor laser projectors a reality in much more budget-friendly packages. So gone is the 720p resolution of my geriatric projector, and in comes NexiGo with a 4K projector and the same effective brightness at 2400 lumens. Besides that 4K resolution, let's go over the rest of the specs. The main selling point outside of the display has got to be the built-in 60-watt Dolby Atmos speaker bar in the front. This takes it from dedicated home theater to portable, massive cinema anywhere you have power and a screen, and that'll kind of be the basis around the rest of my review. For the most part, the projector is made of a very sturdy plastic, and while it is quite large at 21 inches wide, 5 inches tall, and a full 16 inches deep, it's surprisingly lightweight at 22 pounds, at least compared to similarly sized projectors that I've dealt with in the past. The front is dominated by the speaker mesh, and has a set of lights that would look right at home in Kit's grill. Along each side of the projector are a pair of fans, which run surprisingly quiet during operation, especially compared to, again, older projectors that I've dealt with before. And around the rear, we find the projector's I/O, with a trio of HDMI inputs, 2 USB ports for playing videos directly off of USB mass storage, along with 3.5mm and Toslink audio outputs. There's also a gigabit Ethernet port for playing media directly off of the network. More on its media capabilities in just a minute. As this is a short throw projector, you don't need to set the projector on the opposite side of the room to get a decently sized image. In fact, with the projector practically touching the wall in front of it, you'll wind up with an 80-inch projection size. You can stretch that to an officially supported 150 inches with the projector just 16 inches away from the screen, with a total depth needed of 32 inches, given the projector is 16 inches deep on its own. Still, that's a far cry from the 10 feet or more needed for a similar sized image out of standard projectors. According to NexiGo's stat sheet, the Aurora Pro is capable of 107% coverage of the BT 2020 color gamut. Now, for those who don't know what that means, Rec 709 has been the standard for broadcast color ranges ever since HDTV became a thing, and BT 2020, or Rec 2020, expands on this with support for both HDR and 4K resolutions. The Aurora Pro officially supports HDR10 and can even do 3D, something I wasn't able to test in my short time with this projector. Technically, you can run this projector as is with only a power cable, and you don't need to plug a single device into it, as it runs NexiGo's Media Center software, which acts as a sort of set-top box without needing a set-top box. Most of my time with the projector was spent streaming content either over the web or from my local Plex media server. And aside from the physical media fanboys with their Blu-ray player placed next to their turntables, I'm assuming that's how most others will be using this too. There are apps for all the media sources you could ever want, like Disney+, Hulu, Netflix, as well as self-hosted options like Plex. Along with the gigabit network port, the Aurora Pro also has built-in Wi-Fi 6, and support for both Chromecast and AirPlay compatible devices. The screen I used for testing is not actually what I would recommend for home theater use, as it's a rubberized outdoor screen with a gain of just 1.2. But it is 120 inches in size, so it sits right in the middle of NexiGo's recommended projection size. For a permanent installation, you'll want to use what's called an ambient light rejection screen, or a retroreflective screen. But again, I'll be testing with what I have. Aside from the couple wrinkles in my screen, the image is absolutely gorgeous. Colors are bright and vivid, highlights are bright without being blown out, and shadows are sufficiently shaded. And there's practically zero motion blur, something that's particularly impressive on a 120-inch projection screen. For watching movies at home, or even hosting a neighborhood movie night in your yard, it's going to be hard to argue with the picture quality that comes out of this. There are a couple downsides though. At 2400 lumen, it's far from the brightest projector out there. As I mentioned, for daytime viewing indoors, a short throw Fresnel screen is highly recommended. NexiGo is selling a 100-inch screen in a couple of their Kickstarter packages, and is definitely the route I would go for permanently mounting the projector in your living room. I did get a chance to see that screen in action at LTX 2023, and in a moderately lit exhibit hall, the screen was bright and clear from the faux living room setup they had. And now, we get into pricing and who this projector is for. Someone like me, who is always looking for bigger and bigger displays on a budget, are squarely in the crosshairs here. Like I mentioned, I purchased my Casio projector in 2011 for around $1,300, and had it mounted in our upstairs living room along with a 100-inch motorized screen. In fact, you can see the projector mounted to my ceiling in a couple videos in my previous studio. My opinion on crowdfunding prices are no secret. Companies typically offer early bird prices promising extensive discounts from their eventual retail price. But that's never how pricing works. You don't list your projector at $1,700, then turn around and sell it at retail 2 months later for $3,100, because, well, your Kickstarter page is always going to be on display, and those prices will always be publicly visible. The Aurora Pro is being advertised on Kickstarter for exactly that. $1,699 early bird pricing, and $1,749 as the Kickstarter special. They also have an interesting section comparing the Aurora Pro to a couple other laser short throw projectors. The AWOL Vision LTV 2500 for $2,399, and the Vava Chroma priced at $34.99. Spec for spec, the Aurora Pro is remarkably similar, beating out the other models in latency and having Dolby Vision certification. But priced at only $1,699, it undercuts both of them quite significantly. If you quote NexiGo's retail price of $29.99 from their Kickstarter, the comparison stops looking so rosy. So, which price are you actually going to sell the projector for? Pure speculation on my part, I think the retail price of the Aurora Pro is going to come in at around $2,000. That would make it price competitive with a couple other models I've found, like the Casarsis A6 Short Throw, which also features a Tri-Color Laser engine, 2200 lumen brightness, 4K resolution, 3D support, Android TV built in, and a similar 107% BT 2020 coverage, all for $19.99. And that's why I don't like reviewing crowdfunding products all that much, because if price is fluid, so will my opinion be. At $16.99, the Aurora Pro would be the best option on the market, especially with the included 3D glasses from their early bird special. At $19.99, it's price competitive with similar projectors spec for spec, likely with still a higher quality soundbar built in. At $29.99, it's a hard pass, as there are more compelling options on the market already at far lower price points. There's no question, the Aurora Pro is a fantastic bit of kit. A 4K projector that can shoot an image between 80 and 150 inches with less than 3 foot of total throw distance, a soundbar that will save you the trouble of investing in one later, and a surprisingly robust set of apps built in mean you likely only need a power cord connected to get the most out of your new home theater or mobile movie night setup. And that's before we get into gaming, as throwing my Nintendo Switch or even a PC onto this, mind-blowing experience. 4K 60 has never looked so good. At $1,699, you can bring your own screen and have a portable setup that is the envy of everyone in your neighborhood. At $2,200 on Kickstarter, you can add in NexiGo's 100-inch ambient light rejection screen, pricing well below any competing TV setup on the market at the same size. But if the price does creep up to their quoted $29.99 retail price, I'd say without a doubt, you can find a better deal elsewhere. If you're interested in the NexiGo Aurora Pro, make sure to follow the link down in the video description to their Kickstarter page. I'll also have links to the 120-inch portable screen from Elite Screens that I've been using for the last couple years for those wanting a portable setup. Also linked down below are any other projector models that I mentioned in today's video. On your way down there, don't forget to check out the link for craftcomputing.store, where you can get a designed and made in-house pint glass and start drinking like a pro. That's going to do it for me in this one. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next video. Cheers, guys. Beer for today is going to upset pretty much every Irishman that watches me, but this is from Athletic Brewing Company. It is their Irish Red. Interesting thing about Athletic Brewing Company is they make non-alcoholic beer, so this contains less than 0.5% ABV. Man, if there's one word that normally describes an Irish Red, it's malty. And that is something that has not been lost even in a non-alcoholic version of an Irish Red. This has a head on it that is super dense and super creamy, partially because of the Craft Computing nucleated glass. Go to craftcomputing.store to get yourself one of these and start drinking like a pro. But the head, even though my glass is designed to sustain it, I usually don't get heads to develop on non-alcoholic beers. This one, I'm rather surprised. I mean, I'm 15 minutes into filming. It's still there. Overall, the flavor is very one-dimensional. It doesn't evolve. But it's a solid malt profile. I am genuinely enjoying this. And, you know, honestly, for springing for something that's not a soda, that you can get only 70 calories in a can and throw back on a hot summer day, or, you know, sit by a roaring fire in the winter, this is not a bad way to go. Cheers.